Okay, let's just dive right in. We are looking at an absolutely monumental scientific breakthrough today in this explainer. China's historic Chang'e 6 mission recently brought back rock samples that are literally rewriting our entire understanding of lunar history. We're talking about echoes of ancient fire from a place humanity has never, ever physically touched until now. So if you thought we had the moon all figured out, well, you're going to want to pay close attention. Everything we thought we knew about our closest celestial neighbor is shifting. But to start, let's clear up a massive pop culture myth. Whenever we talk about this hidden region, the phrase dark side of the moon almost inevitably comes up, right? But is that hidden face truly plunged in permanent darkness? No way. The short answer is a definitive no. It's so important to understand that the far side gets just as much sunlight as the near side does.
So why do we call it that? Well, the misconception comes down to a neat astrophysical phenomenon called tidal locking. This happens when a celestial body rotates at the exact same speed it orbits its partner. Because our moon is tidally locked to Earth, it is spinning, but at a perfectly synced rate that keeps the exact same face pointing toward us all the time. So yeah, it's not permanently dark at all, it's just forever turned away from our view here on Earth.
And this tidal locking has actually set up a massive geographical mystery that's had researchers scratching their heads for decades. When you look at satellite imagery, you immediately realize these two faces of the moon aren't just pointing in different directions. They are fundamentally wildly different from one another.
I mean, the contrast is just stark. Think about the near side, the familiar face we see from our backyards. It's covered in these large, dark plains created by ancient lava flows that basically smoothed out the surface. But the far side? It is drastically rougher. It's heavily cratered, absolutely battered by impact, and, until very recently, mostly unexplored. Honestly, it's almost like someone mashed two completely different moons together.
Enter China's Chang'e 6 mission. To solve this mystery, they essentially pulled off what I like to call a lunar detective heist. The goal was to head into this unexplored, totally out-of-sight zone, grab physical evidence straight from that rugged terrain, and haul it all the way back to Earth for some rigorous lab work.
And you know what? The heist was a historic success. Chang'e 6 is officially the first spacecraft ever to bring material back from the moon's far side. They successfully scooped up actual rock and soil samples from a hidden hemisphere that humanity had never, ever managed to touch before. It's a real game changer.
But pulling this off was no walk in the park. See, because the far side is entirely blocked by the moon's massive rocky body, direct radio contact with Earth is completely impossible. You're operating in a total communication blackout. To fix this, China had to use specialized relay satellites. Basically, Earth sends a signal to a satellite orbiting outward can see both Earth and the far side. That satellite then bounces the signal down to the lander, and the spacecraft sends its data right back through that same relay. It's an incredibly brilliant technical bridge over what seemed like an impossible hurdle.
Okay, so once the spacecraft safely dropped off its precious cargo back on Earth, the real detective work kicked off in the lab. And this is exactly where researchers finally heard those echoes of ancient fire. When they actually got down to analyzing these samples, they found pieces of basalt. Now, basalt is a specific type of volcanic rock that forms when lava cools. Finding this was huge. It was hard, physical proof that intense, powerful volcanic eruptions once violently shaped the far side of the moon, just like they did the near side. It wasn't just some dead, battered rock out there. It was highly, highly volcanic. To figure out exactly when all this happened, scientists used radiometric dating techniques, and the results? Staggering. They found rock that was over 4.2 billion years old. That confirms massive volcanic eruptions were happening during the moon's fire youth, way back over 4 billion years ago.
But here is the massive plot twist. Hidden right there, among those incredibly ancient rocks, was evidence of a much, much younger eruption, one that happened roughly 2.83 billion years ago. This completely upends what we thought we knew. Most researchers were convinced that volcanic activity on the moon had mostly shut down way earlier than that. Finding this younger material on the far side tells us the moon's interior actually stayed hot and geologically active for far, far longer than anyone expected.
You really can't overstate how big of a deal this is. These findings were so huge they were published in both Nature and Science, two of the top scientific journals in the world. The moon's geological timeline has officially been rewritten. Our whole understanding of how the moon formed and evolved over billions of years is literally changing right now just because of these specific rocks from the far side. So let's talk about the ripple effect here. This isn't just a fun story about finding some old rocks in the lunar dirt.
It's about what this extended active timeline means for our entire understanding of planetary history.
These samples have basically kicked the door wide open on a bunch of exciting new mysteries. Now that we know the far side was volcanic much later than we thought, we have to ask, why did the near and far sides end up developing so incredibly differently? How on Earth, or, well, how on the Moon, did its interior manage to stay hot and active for so much longer? And maybe most importantly, what does this tell us about the early history and formation of rocky planets everywhere in the solar system? It really opens up totally new pathways for figuring out how planets like our own came to be.
To wrap up this explainer, I want you to look up at the moon tonight. Think about that hidden far side spinning out there in the sunlight, and ask yourself this: what other ancient secrets are hiding in the shadows of our solar system's rocky worlds? If the moon can still rewrite its own history in surprises like this from right next door, just imagine what else is out there waiting to be found. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey of discovery today, and hey, keep your eyes on the stars.